Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. Today we're going to be diving into deathcore in the form of Slaughter To Prevail, Demolisher. I have to tell you, I've been a little bit intimidated by this song for quite a while. You've been recommending it for over a year, but your comments said things like, do you think she's ready for Slaughter To Prevail yet? Or when should we introduce her to Alex Terrible? So yeah, that's intimidating. I'm very excited, but also a little bit nervous. I want to make sure you have really great content. So, whoo, boy, I feel little tingles today. A big shout out as well to Mark at Cardivox Academy, Tank the Tech, and Julia Nylon. All three of you have recommended this video, saying you want to discuss the crazy vocals, and you can't do it because I haven't listened to it yet. So, it's time. We're going to do it. Let's get to it. Whoa, that's kind of nuts. There's so many different levels of sound being made in his voice. It's nuts. I'm trying to figure out like what kind of technique he's using to make these harsh vocals. I think he's combining a few, but oh man, we're gonna go back and listen to it again because I thought it looks like we have another person all singing with Alex as well. I think Alex is the one in the cool gold mask. That is not helpful. A lot of them are wearing gold masks. I think Alex is the one with the mic in his face that has the gold mask on. Okay. So that's, there were just so many different layers in there. Okay, we're gonna go back and listen to that again. I swear the deeper sound is so burpy to me. But, that probably has to do with how he's producing it. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, back again. I can't not keep going. Oh man, I wish I could see behind his mask so badly right now. I really want to see what his mouth is doing. There's some of the sounds that it sounds like the lips are probably coming a little bit more forward. So in your vocal tract, essentially, if you elongate your lips forward, you're going to be reinforcing lower frequencies. If you're singing, clean singing, you create the fundamental frequency here. And that's like the main pitch that we would hear. And then the overtones or harmonics, the frequencies that are above it that help give it certain timbre or maybe like a bright sound or a dark sound, that's shaped above where you create the original sound. So you create it here and then you have a filter that you essentially send it out. And the same thing is true for harsh vocals. You have this entire filter in here. So if you want a sound that's more dark, you can extend your lips and think about elongating this entire tube. And if you want a sound that's brighter, you can really pull things back and go like, ah, and think about shortening the tube essentially. And this makes sense if you just think about vowels. Ooh is considered a darker vowel and ah is much brighter. We're going to go back one more time because there's so many different sounds that he's flipping into rapidly. Some of them I go, is that him? Was that another weird sound in the band? It's just fascinating. I have to say, I love the pause right before he comes in. I feel like it's very dramatic, almost operatic. Okay, so it sounds to me like there's sort of like three main sounds that he's made here. And so sorry about this quick blip here. There was a garbage truck which interrupted, and for a heartbeat, I thought that might have been Alex's sounds. But obviously not one of the three sounds that he was making on here. There was like a higher sound, which makes me think it sounded like some sort of rattle that he's doing at first. And then you have a lower sound that sounds like it could be just elongating of the vocal tract like I was talking about earlier, but it might also be the false folds, I think, engaging there, possibly. I'm going to listen more to it. And then we also have this like really cool slidey sound that he's making. I love hearing how he plays with the pitch of this, or just essentially which frequencies or sounds he's reinforcing. Okay, let's keep going. So right there, we definitely have a little bit of singing as well. And so I think that might be the other guy that's with him, but it might also be Alex. Not sure. I did read a little bit about Alex ahead of time. And one of the interviews that I read that he gave, he mentions that he actually does clean singing to warm up. I thought that was really cool. If you're going to be doing harsh vocals, I think it's very important that you understand what part of the larynx you are using to create sound. Because if you try to make harsh vocals with your true vocal folds, that's when you're going to have damage happen. But it is entirely possible, lots of research has been done about this particular thing, that you can make distortion in the sound without harming your voice or larynx, meaning that it doesn't harm the true vocal folds. Maybe more on that in a bit. Let's keep going for now. Wow. Oh, I love this combination of the drums and his voice. I like the way you hear these big hits essentially, and then space for the screams. Sometimes it just feels like in harsher metal that I have a wall of sound coming at me the whole time. And I like it when we get variations in the texture. I think a lot about mixing and, where are the various sounds going to live within different frequencies? Do I have sounds that are my high frequencies and my low frequencies and my mids? Is there space for another sound in there somewhere? And I think that the way that the drums are partnering with Alex's voice is very, very smart. It lets it have like a drum moment and then an Alex moment and give space and ear recognition to each. Go back to that again. I'm sorry. It's just so shocking every time he starts. Okay, I might have been wrong about there being two people. This might be taken from a couple different concerts. So I wonder if you actually have Alex in this gold horned face mask in one of the concerts and then without the mask in another, because I don't think I've seen them together in the same space, or maybe I did. It might have just been the quick overlay into another concert that made me think there's another person. Or it might be that somebody else is singing that clean vocal underneath him. Not sure. Just wanted to take a step back and say, maybe I'm wrong. Let's go back again. Okay, this sound here. Wait for it. Okay, there's a very, very low sound in that mix. And I've been reading a lot recently. I've been looking at a lot of research papers about metal and harsh vocals and trying to understand a little bit more about what exactly functionally is happening in your larynx. I might pull up a little diagram here and explain a couple things to you guys. So I'll put that in the post. Check out this diagram and notice that at the bottom of your larynx, so the lowest point, that's where your true vocal folds engage. That's where you're making pitch happen. In this case, everything that I've heard except for the one sort of melody line that came in there and I mentioned clean vocals, all of that was not involving the true vocal folds. So those are open, and it's very important that they stay open or you start to get in that risky area of damage. And then above them are your false vocal folds. And false vocal folds, they're very different compositionally from true vocal folds. They can't vibrate as quickly, which is why they can't really make a pitch happen. Instead, they just make what we call noise or distortion happen. And that's partly because they're a little more floppy. They don't have as much muscle that comes into the tissue further down in the tissue, and the mucous membrane just isn't as viscous there. So you don't get a lot of what you consider like a pure pitch from those false vocal folds. But it's very interesting to see that false vocal folds have been studied in relation to subharmonics for sure, and also in relation to Mongolian throat singing. We know that the way that you get that extra octave below is by engaging both the vocal folds and the false vocal folds to create that octave below, which is really cool, I think. So when I think about sounds in harsh music these days, when I think about the really low ones, part of my brain always says, I wonder if that's false vocal folds that are engaging there. And the reason I'm not 100% sure is because I'm still a metal baby. But on top of that, I read some more research paper. By the way, guys, I'm going to link to these research papers just so you have some references. There are not enough research papers on metal out there. I love reading research papers. This is a passion of mine. If you have any that you can recommend, especially about the aryepiglottic folds, I would love to read more about those, or arytenoid cartilage rattling too. There's just not much information that's out there and has been peer-reviewed and given really good research. But we do know that sometimes metal vocalists aren't sure what method they're using. And they say, oh, well, I'm making a growl, but one metal vocalist will be using false folds to make a growl, and one will be using our aryepiglottic folds to make that growl. And it's very interesting to sort of see that maybe we might be achieving sounds in different ways, similar ways, just needs a whole lot more research done. But back to anatomy. So you have your false folds on the bottom, you have your true folds on the bottom, then your false folds. And then above the false folds are the aryepiglottic folds. That's usually where you get your growls and things like Louis Armstrong kind of sound, right? Blah, that kind of thing. And then you have on top of that, or kind of, it's a pretty similar area actually, is where you have your arytenoid cartilages, and that can cause some of that fry scream or rattling on top. There's also things above that can cause rattling, things like your uvula or like even saliva sometimes. So there's things above too. But this is all to say, this is a long pause, you guys, I'm so sorry. But you have different points along your larynx that can be constricted to make different kinds of sounds. And to me, it sounds like he's employing several different kinds of those. I think I'm mostly hearing fry scream in there, but that bottom one, the really low sound, I thought, oh, well, maybe he's using false folds a little bit right there to achieve that lowness. I'm not sure though. I would need a camera in his throat to be sure, which I don't think he'd let me do. Okay, let's keep going. I love that moment when we get a little more melody in there. I would love to hear a little more melody throughout. I loved all kinds of sounds, but I also like an array of sounds too. So it's nice to have a little bit of melody in there. What was that? I think he just growled at us. Like, that sounded like it was coming through his nose, like really mimicking almost a dog growl. I wonder, to me, it sounds like this is coming from one recording, or maybe a doubling of the voice in there as far as post-production goes. But I also hear lots of different possible layers. So I'm wondering, like, is he using a couple of these techniques at the same time? It sounded like he had them at different times possibly before, but in this area, I'm hearing like a very higher sound, a lower sound at the same time. I'm curious if you layered those or if that was happening at the same time. I'm not sure. That might be layered. Oh man. Whoa. This is so intense. How does his hair not get stuck on the horn? That's an awesome sound. Oh, that reminds me a little bit of Ginger. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Loved this production. It sounded like Threnody for strings, and the way the strings were rising up. It gives me the chills, the heebie-jeebies. And then the breaking of glass in there too. Oh, wow. It was just like right out of a horror movie. By the way, I don't think I understand anything that he's said. I thought I heard "look into my eyes" at one point. I don't know. The words have gone by pretty quickly. I'm not following them. Gotta be honest. Okay, back. There's a cool monster sound that's about to happen. I would lean towards thinking that's false fold production. I hear a teensy bit of pitch that's underneath it as well. So if the true vocal folds are going, and then you have the ventricular, vestibular, or false folds, so the three names for the exact same thing, by the way. If you have those going just above a little bit of true phonation at the same time, then you could get that super low sound. I'm not entirely positive on that. That would be my guess, though. Whoa. That's an amazing sound. Demolisher. Demolisher. Whoa. That's exactly that moment that, or the thing I was talking about earlier, where it sounds like he's got the lows and some highs. I even had a mid in it. Oops, let's go back again. Demolisher. Demolisher. Yeah, I think I'm picking up at least 3 main pitch regions is what I would say in that sound. That's incredible. Really incredible. I wonder if that was one go, and it sounds to me like it was one go. Oh man, brain explode. That's amazing. One more time. Demolisher. The amount of practice he had to have had to be able to make all of these sounds simultaneously, I think would be so much. People will often just employ one. All of them, that's crazy. That's super crazy. And it's been nuts to me all along how he's sort of flipped between these different sounds. And I love the different amount of shaping he's even doing within it. And I think it's just amazing. I think it's really, really cool. I also want to say, I'm pretty sure now that I was mistaken. I'm pretty sure that the guy that I thought was singing along with him earlier was actually just him in a different concert. So, sorry. It's my first time seeing this. Let's keep going. Very He-Man. Yeah, definitely fry scream. Definitely. Oh my goodness, is that the end? No! We're going to go back to my favorite moment because I just realized I think that this moment is the mythological J7. This one. Demolisher! Tell me in chat, is that a J7? Is that a K7? What is it? Well, we need to understand what this note should be called. Very King Kong. He-Man. Wildly terrified. Ooh, what a cool ending. Oh, now I want to see his covers too. That was really cool. That was really, really cool. I'm so intrigued and I want to know more about how he makes these sounds. I want to listen to more of those sounds. And I want to read more research too. I just feel like we don't know enough about what is happening inside the throat. So if any of you have additional articles that talk about things like ventricular folds or aryepiglottic folds or arytenoid cartilage, any of those three and how they contribute to production of harsh vocals, if you have those research paper links, please post them in the comments below. I would be delighted to read them. You don't know how delighted I would be. I nerd out about this stuff hardcore if you can't tell. And everybody, thank you so much for this recommendation. I was totally ready for it. I needed it. And I'm really excited to hear more things like this. I want to know, what would you like for me to look at next? So post those recommendations in the comments below as well. And if you don't want to miss that video, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the bell for the notifications so you know when those videos are coming out. I am here every single Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Arizona time. And you can also find us on Patreon. And you can take lessons on singing and music appreciation at thecharismaticvoice.com. But before you go, I have to tell you, coming up very soon is a fun shindig. Our 500K party. We just hit 500K subscribers. I don't know when you're watching this, so I don't know if that happened recently or if it was last year. But our party is going to be coming up. It's going to be on Saturday, July 31st, 2021 at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're having giveaways. We're going to be playing games. We're going to have releases, things like music videos, maybe even some bloopers. And anyhow, that's happening all on Saturday, July 31st at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check out our community posts for more information. And I'll see you guys somewhere soon. Thank you.